Paris. 4 a.m. The city sleeps beneath a velvet cloak, streetlights casting a ghostly glow on empty cobblestones. But behind one unassuming window, frosted with the chill of the pre-dawn air, a light burns. Not just a light, but a warmth, a scent, a sound. This is the domain of Claude. Claude, the baker. His eyes hold a story, a quiet sadness that seems as much a part of him as the flour dusting his apron. Every morning, long before the first hint of sunrise paints the Parisian sky, his ritual begins. The mixing, the kneading, the shaping. And always, the music. Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. For Claude, it isn't just background noise. It's a companion in the solitary hours. The slow, melancholic rise and fall of the notes seem to understand the rhythm of his work, the weight in his heart. He doesn't hum along, doesn't tap his foot. He simply lets the music wash over him, guiding his hands as they transform simple ingredients, flour, water, yeast, butter, into promises of the morning to come. The scent begins to build. The sharp tang of yeast, the rich sweetness of butter warming, the eventual promise of caramelizing sugar. It's a symphony of scent weaving through Beethoven's aching beauty. Outside, the city remains hushed. Inside, Claude's world is one of familiar motions and the piano's soft lament. He checks the proofing loaves, slides trays of croissants into the cavernous oven, the blast of heat a familiar embrace. He moves with a quiet efficiency born of years, each action precise, almost meditative. The sadness in his eyes doesn't impede his skill, perhaps it fuels it, adding an intangible depth to the crust of his baguettes, a certain tenderness to the heart of his pain au chocolat. Tonight, however, the familiar solitude is broken. A soft, hesitant knock echoes through the small bakery. It's an unusual sound at this hour. Tourists are asleep, locals are hours away from their morning coffee. Claude pauses, flour-dusted hands hovering over a bowl of dough. He wasn't expecting anyone. He rarely did. He moves towards the door, wiping his hands on his apron, the Moonlight Sonata momentarily fading in his awareness, replaced by curiosity tinged with apprehension. He peers through the glass. A silhouette against the weak streetlight. A woman. He unlocks the door, opening it just a crack. The cool night air rushes in, carrying with it the scent of rain on pavement. Standing there is Amelie. Her eyes are wide, mirroring the sleeplessness that haunts her nights. She's been wandering the deserted streets, Insomnia her unwelcome guide, searching for, she doesn't know what. An escape from the racing thoughts, perhaps. A moment of peace. And then, she smelled it. Faintly at first, then drawing her closer like an invisible thread. The unmistakable, soul-soothing aroma of baking bread. Warmth. Life. Hope. It cut through the lonely chill of the Parisian night. Bonjour, she whispers, her voice soft. I smelled the croissants. Claude looks at her. He sees the tiredness etched around her eyes, the slight tremor in her hands. He understands solitude. He understands the need for comfort in the deep hours of the night. He steps back, opening the door wider. An unspoken invitation. Amelie enters, blinking in the warm, flour-dusted light. The scent is overwhelming now, wrapping around her like a blanket. Her eyes scan the small shop, the racks of cooling bread, the trays waiting for the oven, the bags of flour stacked neatly. And then, she sees it. Tucked away in a corner, shrouded slightly in shadow, stands an old upright piano. It looks out of place, an anomaly amidst the baking equipment. Dusty, perhaps, but solid. A silent promise of music. No one, not even Claude's oldest customers, quite knew why it was there. It had simply always been. Without a word, drawn by an impulse she doesn't understand, Amelie walks towards it. She lifts the worn wooden cover over the keys. She sits. Her fingers, long and graceful, pianist's fingers, hover for a moment, then find the ivory. A melody begins to fill the space, hesitant at first, then gaining confidence. Not the Moonlight Sonata this time, but something equally poignant, perhaps a piece by Satie, or maybe something she composes on the spot, born from the sleepless night and the unexpected sanctuary. The notes mingle with the aroma of baking bread, creating a strange and beautiful harmony. Claude stops his work. He stands by the ovens, listening. He watches her play, her shoulders relaxing, the tension easing from her face as she loses herself in the music. He sees how the melody transforms the familiar space, adding a new layer to his solitary world. The piano, silent for so long, has found its voice again. He turns, picks up a small plate, and carefully places a warm, dark, chocolate brownie on it, its surface still glossy, the scent rich and decadent. He walks quietly over to the piano, waiting for a pause in her playing. She finishes the phrase, her hands resting on the keys, the final notes hanging in the air. She looks up at him, a faint, surprised smile touching her lips. Claude offers the plate. His sad eyes meet hers, but now, there's a flicker of something else. Understanding. Connection. Sekai, he says softly, his voice raspy from the early hour. Pour ceux qui rendent ma farine heureuse. This is for those who make my flour happy. Amelie looks from the brownie to Claude, then back to the piano keys. The aroma of chocolate and butter mixes with the lingering scent of yeast and the echo of the music. In the heart of sleeping Paris, in a small bakery filled with the ghost of Beethoven and the scent of new bread, two solitary souls have found a shared moment, a quiet harmony, offered on a plate, carried on a melody. The night is still dark, but perhaps, just perhaps, the dawn feels a little closer.